Hi everyone, it's Sam here from ModelChili Scale Models, and here is Bandai's 1/72 scale TIE Striker from Star Wars Rogue One, which has come straight from Japan. It took about 2 weeks to get here, so it's not too long really. But yeah, I've been looking forward to getting this. We're pretty starved for new Star Wars kits these days, so I've pretty much had to jump on this one. And yeah, so just a quick rundown of the colours that I'll be using. For the kit, it's pretty simple really. It's just a black and then a few shades of grey, but I'll be using my usual Vallejo Model Air range. So just for the black for the panels, and then a pale blue-grey for the main body colour. And then I've got two dark greys which are pretty much the same, dark sea grey and Antarctic grey, although it's got anthracite grey on here for some reason. Bit of a translation issue maybe, but so those are fairly similar. I'll probably only use one of those. And then once I get to the washers and the clear coats, I'll run over those as well. But let's start by having a look inside the box. Okay, so got the first bag here with the wing frames in it, which are a lot bigger than I thought they would be. That's huge for 1/72 scale. And, some of the front and rear body parts. And the stand, which is just flat plastic, not detailed like the other TIE fighters, unfortunately. And then the sticker options. And then the wing panels, and some of the other bodywork and canopy pieces. Now the infamous cutout pilot. Now I've heard on YouTube, I forget what channel it was, sorry, but now that Bandai have got a license to sell these, to sell certain kits in North America, they can get around it by not including the pilot figure because they don't have the license to sell action figures in North America. And so they just include this cutout. And they still have a seated pilot because for some reason that doesn't count as an action figure. Well, it doesn't really make sense to me, but that's what I've heard anyway. And so that's why you'll get certain kits like the TIE Fighters and the X-Wings that they can sell in North America, but you'll never see the actual figure kits like the Stormtroopers and things like that because they just don't have the license for that, which is a bit weird and a bit unfortunate. But I mean, even here in New Zealand we still have to get them through Japan. I don't think they'll be coming here anytime soon. So international licensing laws strikes again, but we live with it, I suppose, thanks to the internet. And here's the instructions, which again, because of the they're allowed to sell these kits in North America now. That's why they've started including English as well as Japanese, which is always handy. And it looks pretty simple, just a small fold out, quite a simple kit really, and just a bit of Japanese promotional stuff there, and that's it. So let's get building. Okay, so for the cockpit internal parts, I'm just going to use the dark sea grey that I mentioned earlier. Right, so with the cockpit paint dry, now I need to attach all of these panel decals, which is quite a lot of work for something that you're never going to see, but I like to be a completionist about it. Right, so I've painted on a few details. Now I'm just going to finish it off by applying this Vallejo light grey wash. And do the same with the back of the cockpit there. Okay, so the front part of the cockpit is had a wash and it's dried mostly. And I'm going to do a bit of dry brushing to bring out some of this detail. So I've just got the pale blue grey on this flat brush, and dry brushing just involves removing most of the paint just so there's a trace left, and then just brushing it across the raised detail. There you go, so that's a really easy but effective way to bring out some highlights. And I'll do the same for this front panel. Okay, now so even though this is a snap together kit, I'm just going to reinforce some of these lasers with glue, just so they don't pop out and get lost. Now I thought this was quite a nice little touch. even though the TIE Striker is quite a new design, as far as I know. They've actually kept some of the old elements from the old TIE fighters, such as this piece here, which was originally a piece of Sherman tank suspension. When the ILM guys built up these TIE fighters in the 70s, they used pieces of model kits to help build up some of this detail. And in the original TIE fighters, there's this really unmistakable piece on the back that's part of the suspension from a Sherman tank, or an M3, one of those. And they've recreated it on the TIE Striker as well. It's slightly different, but it looks pretty much the same. So that's quite a nice little throwback to the old TIE fighters. Right, so I've given the main body a coat of surface primer. Since it'll be a part of the model, that'll get a lot of handling, so I just want to make sure the paint sticks once it's down. And now for this piece I'm going to do a bit of black pre-shading, just so I can get some panel highlights when I do the base coat. And for the canopy frame and the little ion engine pieces, I'm just going to be using the dark sea grey again. So for the wing panels I'm going to paint them black, mainly just to hide these moulding marks here, which I don't think the clear coat will hide, unfortunately, so I'm going to have to just paint them. And I found because of a lot of the fine detailing in these panels, like the ribbing, a lot of dust and bits of grit get caught in there, so it's a good idea to just blow over it with the airbrush before you start painting. For the panel frames, I've just given them a very light coating of Tamiya surface primer from the spray can, and I'm just going to do a base coat of the pale blue grey, which isn't really blue, even though it says it's blue. It's very similar to this primer colour. And now for the last of the painted pieces, it's just the parts for the wing panel mechanism, which is again same colour as the body, pale blue grey. Okay, so that's everything put together, and there it is with the wings down, and then you can clip them up into the up position. It kind of reminds me of Dumbo the elephant. It's kind of strange design really. And I've just noticed that there's a bit of warping on the panels there. As you can see, they're slightly pointing down a bit. I don't think there's much I can do about that. It's just the way the plastic has been moulded. And actually it's just the latest slight flaw I've noticed in this kit. As you can see, there's quite a few large gaps, especially one there. Some along here. And there's quite a big one across there, where the two pieces just aren't fitting. And it's not because of the painting, because I put all this together before I painted it. And that's quite uncharacteristic of these Bandai kits. It's actually the first one that I've seen that hasn't been sort of flawless as regards to fit quality. So it's quite strange really. And also, coming onto that topic, some of the sprue gates between the sprue and the piece have been a lot thicker and a bit more cruder than usual. Usually they're quite thin and the parts just easily come off without much damage or work, but these have been a lot thicker and a lot harder to sort of break the piece off without scraping it or damaging it. So it's quite strange that this kit seems to have dipped in quality just a little bit. I mean, I'm still really happy with it. It's come together quite nicely. I still not need, you still don't need any glue to put it together. But there's just been a few things that I've noticed that I haven't noticed on other Bandai kits before. So hopefully this isn't an indication of things for the future. Hopefully it's just an anomaly. Maybe even it's just this kit, I don't know. But yeah, I'm sure I'll be getting more of them, so I'll keep my eye out in the future for that sort of thing. So now with that all done, I'm just going to do a bit more detail painting and then give it a gloss coat and then get on to the weathering. Right, so that's the flat coat, the gloss coat applied. And I was just using Tamiya Clear TS13, which I just do out in the garage from the spray can. Just a couple of light coats just to help with the decals and the weathering. So now I'll start applying this extensive decal sheet. In fact, they're so small you can't even see them, but I'll put them on anyway. Okay, well that was slightly embarrassing. I had started the wash process, but realised halfway through that I hadn't actually pressed record, so unfortunately I've missed doing the underside, but I can start fresh on the top. So I'm just using Vallejo's dark grey wash, which looks almost black when you bring it out of the bottle. And I'm just going to apply this over all the grey areas. And it looks pretty messy when you first apply it, but what I'll be doing is cleaning most of it away with some paint thinner. It's fairly easy to clean up. And so I'll just leave it in all the recessed areas and then wipe it away on the flat exposed parts. And actually, after watching the movie and looking at the box art, these TIE Strikers look a bit more weathered than the standard TIE Fighters. I think because they do a lot of atmospheric flight, they're going to get beat up a bit more. So I may leave this a bit more weathered than the previous TIE fighters that I've done, but I won't go too far. Okay, so with the wash mostly dry, it's still a bit sticky to touch, but it's not moving with my finger. So I've just got a bit of airbrush thinner. I'm just going to put it on the end of a monitor cleaning cloth, just something nice and smooth. And now I can start wiping the wash away. And to get into some of the more hard to reach places, I'll just use a bit of thinner on the end of a pointed cotton bud, which are quite useful for jobs like this. Okay, so that's the wash and the weathering pretty much done. It's quite a heavy wash, which is pretty much what I was going for. I wanted it to look a bit more used and maintained than some of the other fresh looking TIE fighters. And I've also done a little bit of wearing and chipping down on some of these lower parts around these corners and around there. Actually, what I ended up doing was just scrubbing a bit harder around some of these corners, wearing down the paint a bit so it exposed the black and then some of the primer underneath, and that gave sort of a rubbed, chipped look. But I've kept it minimal. I didn't want it to look too bashed up. And yeah, I don't think I'll put any more battle damage or chipping on it. I think it's looking pretty good the way it is at the moment. And so, as you can see, it's still nice and shiny, so I've got to put on the final flat coat to seal everything in and to tone down the shininess a bit. And like the clear, it's just Tamiya's flat clear TS80. Just a couple of thin coats of that, and then it should be ready. Alright, so here it is complete. And here it is with the wings in the down position, which kind of makes it difficult to film really, because you can't really see a lot from all these different angles. You're going to have to get the wings or the panels in the up position. It's probably how I'll display it on the shelf, since it's quite high, and this will be a good view from underneath. So yeah, overall I'm quite happy with how it's come out. Quite simple, as I've mentioned. Wasn't a lot of weathering needed, just the heavy wash, a bit of chipping or rubbing, and that was pretty much it. And the flat coat's gone down. It's got rid of most of the shininess. There's still a little bit of sheen on the panels, which looks okay. And yeah, I mean, there's really not much else to say really, apart from the few flaws. It's another really nice kit that I would recommend. If you're starting out with Star Wars kits, then this would be a good one to start with. It's quite simple construction and builds up to quite a nice size, as you can see. The stand is okay, I mean it's functional. I've just given it a gloss coat over the black plastic, and it sits right at the back there. But it's kind of tricky because you have to have it sort of dead centre on. If you angle it slightly, the weight of it just sort of swivels it around. Just the angle it's sitting at. But yeah, it should make a nice display piece. So yeah, as usual, let me know what you think. Leave a comment or a like or dislike. I'm always happy to read your comments or answer your questions about any of the paint or tools that I've used. Hopefully it's been simple enough to follow. And I'm just going to pause this and bring out some other TIE fighters. Okay, so here we are with the TIE Interceptor, which I did a few months ago, and this was done in a more of a bluish grey to match how they looked in Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back, whereas the TIE fighters in A New Hope looked a bit more of a warmish grey. And finally I've got the first TIE fighter that I've done. It's the normal TIE fighter. As you can see here, there's a bit of a size difference in the two TIE fighters. Actually it's quite interesting because the cockpit frame on this is actually a little bit smaller than that one. Just need to get a bit of lighting. All these panels just keep shadowing everything. So yeah, so the front is actually a little bit smaller than this one, and as well as the TIE Interceptor. So there's quite a few details that look the same but are actually different dimensions, which I thought was quite interesting. And yeah, so I hope you've enjoyed watching that. And again, if you've got any feedback, then please let me know. And thanks for watching. So until next time, take care.